Hello, everyone. Firstly, extending a warm welcome to each and every one of you who has joined us today. Throughout this sponsored roaming webinar, we will explore the transformative power of sponsored roaming services, the demand for such services from not just mobile operators and MVNOs, but also a new set of actors, including private networks providers and travel connectivity providers. Plus, I'm excited to have additional insights and input into this topic from our esteemed panel members. I'll introduce them very shortly. And we'll have some exciting discussions on the latest advancements that's shaping the whole roaming landscape. Now, following the webinar, you will get exclusive access to our latest white paper that we've put together in partnership with Orange Wholesale, which looks into the current market status, the needs and requirements for sponsored roaming services around the world. So let's get started, and let me introduce you to our wonderful panel today. I'm sure they're going to make today's session very informative and insightful. Today we have Elise Le Lann and Jérémy Péan from Orange Wholesale, and we are extremely happy to be joined by Zigor from Air Networks in Spain. So firstly, welcome guys. Thank you and happy to have you on board. Please come off mute for a few seconds to introduce yourselves to our wonderful audience. Elise, let's start with you and then go to Jérémy and then finally Zigor yourselves. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Over to you, Elise.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. Hello, everyone. So I'm Elise Le Lann. I'm offers manager at Orange Wholesale International. I'm a part of the mobile team, and I let the floor to Jérémy to introduce himself.
Thanks, Elise. Thanks, Nitin. I'm really happy to be with you today. So welcome everybody to that webinar. I'm Jérémy Péan. I'm a product marketing manager here at Orange Wholesale, and I'm developing sponsored roaming solutions.
Okay, thank you. I'm Zigor. I'm from Grupo Aire. We are a wholesale operator in Spain and Portugal, and I'm the CTO of the group. And thanks so much for the invitation to this webinar.
Great. Thank you, guys. And finally, for the audience, I'm Nitin Bhas. I'm Chief Analyst here at Kaleido, focusing on roaming market research and advisory services. As I mentioned, I'll be your host today. And let's quickly jump in and have a look at the agenda for today. So we do have a busy agenda. It's a packed one. I'll kick off our session today with an introduction to the white paper and present a few slides summarizing key takeaways and some findings from our most recent sponsored roaming survey. And then I'll hand over to Zigor and the Orange team to have a good discussion around the experience, not just from an operator perspective, but also the wholesale service provider perspective. So we have enough time dedicated and planned for an exciting panel session. We hope to have an engaging discussion amongst our panel members. The key point is on how to optimize your roaming strategy, how to take advantage of new and emerging market opportunities within the roaming ecosystem. Also, during the session, please use the chat function that's available to you at the bottom right-hand corner to post any questions you may have during the webinar, and would be more than happy to take them towards the end of the session. So we've planned a Q&A session towards the end of this webinar. We're also able to get in touch with you post the webinar to have a one-to-one discussion if you need so. So quickly, just a quick introduction into the white paper. So the white paper that will be made accessible to you shortly after the webinar includes an analysis of the current roaming market landscape, includes latest insights from our survey, our sponsored roaming survey, where we surveyed well over 100 mobile operators, MVNOs, and travel connectivity providers. The survey gives you some quite key and exciting insights into what role does sponsored roaming play in the roaming value chain, and the need and the demand for a one-stop shop service as noted by our participants. So as I mentioned, we'll be sharing the white paper following the webinar session today, directly delivered to your inboxes. I guess you'll be also able to access a recording of today's webinar and a copy of the white paper directly from Orange's website. So moving on. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, quick introduction to the global roaming market. What we're seeing right now, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it, a global resurgence in travel. Kaleido predicts a global international travel to surpass pre-pandemic levels this year. The landscape, but one thing that needs to be noted is that the mobile roaming landscape is taking on a complex and dynamic outlook in this post-pandemic era. We are witnessing a lot of innovation happening. We're witnessing new challenges for mobile operators emerge. We're seeing increasing data usage amongst mobile roamers, and not just consumer, but also rising usage amongst the expansive growth that we're seeing in IoT roaming. We're seeing widespread 5G non-standalone roaming migration happening. We're seeing a lot of testing and trials around 5G standalone, but all of this together presents an opportunity, a demand for new use cases, driving revenues for roaming business units. So it's looking positive for roaming business units out there in 2024, as well as over the next 5 years. So based on this, we are predicting roaming revenues to continue to grow, as you can see from the chart, over the next 5 years. We're predicting a combined consumer and IoT roaming revenues to exceed 45 billion in 2024. And this will unlock and generate new revenue opportunities for operators and connectivity providers around the world. Now, as I mentioned, the post-pandemic landscape is a crucial point for the roaming industry. It's not just a resurgence of travel, but we are also seeing enterprises intensifying their focus on IoT strategies. We are seeing 5G roaming and VoLTE roaming taking center stage, and 5G is the biggest market driver currently for the roaming sector. There's a lot of opportunities and use case predictions being made out there. We'll have this discussion a bit later on, but we are predicting well over 35 billion from 5G roaming services going forward. But as I mentioned, that there is a need for operators to navigate a series of strategic hurdles going forward when it comes to 5G roaming. It's be it supporting new billing and settlement, or be it supporting new signaling and roaming functions, be it managing those rising data usage or other value-added services. There's several challenges, but one thing is for sure, as you can see from the chart, is the key driver for 5G roaming service is not just about high capacity or faster broadband usage. It is about deciding how to enable enhanced connectivity solutions for the enterprises or for the IoT, international IoT use cases. Now, sponsored roaming. So the traditional demand for sponsored roaming came from smaller MNOs and full MVNOs who are technically not in a position to kind of undergo lengthy bilateral negotiations, or simply do not have the time to establish these agreements, then implement them, then test them, then roll out, and then maintain them, and also considering their position to negotiate favorable wholesale rates. But what we are seeing today, and I'm sure the team at Orange will discuss this further during their session, is how we are seeing a growing demand for sponsored roaming solutions from not just the MVNOs, but a growing number of global IoT providers. We're seeing new connectivity demand from travel leasing providers, as well as private network operators. So what sort of use cases can private network operators and other providers address using sponsored roaming solutions? So this is what we aim to address and discuss today. Now, one thing kept coming up during the survey, during our research, is a comprehensive roaming service that serves as a one-stop shop for operators and service providers. That is what's highly beneficial for operators. We saw around 38% of the respondents. We had MNOs, we had MVNOs, we had IoT MVNOs, we had travel connectivity providers taking part, but overall an average of 38% stating that a one-stop shop solution was important to their needs. So as you can see on the chart, there are several considerations that you need to have while selecting a sponsored roaming solution. It hinges on factors like customer experience, global footprint, instant coverage, discount, deal management. And from the previous slide, we saw how respondents saw a one-stop shop roaming service as an important requirement. So as you can see from the chart, it is evident from our survey and our research that customer experience and instant coverage is the two primary differentiation factor for choosing a roaming sponsor. Now, quickly, finally, from myself, how do you position for market success, right? So as I mentioned at the start of the session, there is a growing optimism for roaming. There's a positive outlook for roaming in 2024 and beyond. There is a demand for sponsored roaming solution that's fueled by the bespoke needs of actors that I mentioned, be it the IoT providers, be it the travel leasing providers, be it the private network operators alongside your MVNOs. So we are seeing growth surrounding all these providers. We're seeing growth around 5G roaming initiatives. So now is the time to make strategic investments. Now is the time to make those partnerships and take advantage of innovative services to capitalize on this global roaming resurgence in a post-pandemic world. eSIM, travel eSIM is key because we recently published a report where we're predicting well over 10 billion in consumer spend by 2028 on travel eSIMs. We're seeing, as I mentioned, we had an exciting webinar yesterday with my colleague Stefan Sorrell and Flolive discussing the IoT and travel connectivity, IoT roaming domains. So there is this evolution that's happening in terms of technology, in terms of consumer travel, in terms of the IoT roaming needs. So I would like to call this as a pivotal moment for all these actors, for the mobile operators to take advantage of, innovate, and capitalize on these opportunities. Now, on that note, let me pause for a bit. I would like to bring in Zigor. And for all Kaleido's webinar, we like to bring real-world expertise to provide a bit more context around all the discussion that we have on this webinar. So Zigor will provide us with some background on Air Networks, also the group's vast experience and product portfolio in Spain. It will also give us some information on their roaming offering as well as their sponsor partnership. So Zigor, welcome back. I'm handing over the stage to you. Take it away.
Thank you, Nitin. So just to introduce really fast our company, I'm the CTO of the group, and those are the numbers. No, we are not a small company. We're a big company in Spain and Portugal with operations in Spain and Portugal. Our revenues last year we finished with more than 200 million euros. So we are really proud of that because we are growing really fast. And our product portfolio, we are like I want to explain. No, we are acquiring company. We are in an M&A process with and acquiring different companies and to complete the gap we have in our product portfolio, because we started in a wholesale market with the only connectivity, the mobile and the data centers, but we are growing, we are increasing our product portfolio. So those are our brands, and as you see, in our product portfolio we have the connectivity, the MVNO, MVNE. We are connected in Spain with Telefónica, but for the sponsor roaming service we are working with Orange, and we are really proud of that because we improved our roaming service. Because I'm going to explain it now, but for that, this is why Orange, because it was we are working in the MVNO market for 10 years in Spain, and we're trying to make agreements in Portugal too. In Portuguese market is really different from the Spanish market, but in the past, as I said, we was working with the Telefónica sponsor roaming service, and we was facing some issues about the dual IMC, the APN, GTP proxy. We have the lack of that features, and our customers was experiencing a really bad service in roaming. No, so last year we decided to jump to another carrier. No, we said, okay, we need a worldwide connectivity. We need a worldwide service, and we was exploring the market, the sponsor roaming market. It's not a big market, but we saw that the Orange was like the best for us because of the coverage and the agreements they have in the worldwide. It was really interesting for us. And our experience was, once we decided to make the swap, our experience was that we had a really fast deployment. In less than 4 months, we was able to swap our the last service, or the previous service to the new service with no impact in our customers. We make it in 2 days. In only 2 days, we migrate all the customers to the new service. So it was really fast. And we make all the integrations, the IMC, we have the dual IMC, so it's a bit tricky. We have the full support from Orange guys. It was a really high quality support, not only during the project. Now in service, we are experiencing a really good service. You know that the roaming service is not perfect because you rely the service in different operators around the world, and it's really difficult to have a super good experience. But the experience is really good. And one of the things that we want, because as we are MVNO, we needed a rich feature set. No, like for example the dual MC, the DCH, the data clearing house for our prepaid and postpaid services, APN, GTP proxy, Apple carrier services. It's a really interesting thing for us because the Apple customers, you know that it's not easy to have like a seamless service in roaming, and we are really proud of that. One of the things is the network. We are really proud of our network in Spain and Portugal, and our customers want they want a really good experience. So we have really low latency service because we have really good connectivity in our interconnection, no, and IPX service from Orange with zero redundancy, and we are connected in different locations, so it's good. And one of the most important things for us was the future, no? Because we are now focused on the B2B market. And for the B2B market, as you know, it's really super important to have a good sponsor or roaming service, no? So for that, we needed to select a good sponsor roaming for the future, and the future features like 5G, for example, available. We have now available 5G in roaming, and we don't have in Spain at the moment, but with our network operator, but we are experiencing 5G in different countries thanks to Orange services. And the future roadmap, it was for us was really important, and it was like it was key to decide to work with Orange, like a local breakout of the traffic by regions, because we have the network and we wanted to have a really good experience, internet access experience in roaming services. So we have some we knew that Orange has in the roadmap the local breakout of the traffic by regions like Asia or US, for example. VoLTE services, 5G non-standalone, IoT, and different services that we need for our B2B market. No? So this is our experience, and thanks to Thanks for the opportunity to explain this experience with you.
Yeah, thank you, Zigor. Thank you. It is, as I mentioned earlier, always good to hear from the industry as a whole rather than just a few commentators. So that was very useful, and I think it's a good overview and will serve us very well as a background during our panel discussion. Now, thanks again, Zigor. So without any further delay, let me bring Elise and Jérémy in. Guys, we know Orange has a wide range of solutions, including roaming sponsor. I mean, Zigor just gave a good introduction to that. As the market is always in need of new solutions, our audience will find it interesting and very useful to understand A, innovations that you're working on, B, how are you addressing the demands for that one-stop shop service that the demand that we see from various actors I explained earlier on, and C, how you're evolving your products and roaming offerings to meet this ever-changing demands and necessities that we are witnessing in a post-pandemic world. So over to you guys, and I will move the slides along for you.
Yes, let me start. Thanks a lot, Nitin, for providing these insights. And as well, thank you, Zigor, for sharing your challenges as MVNO and why Grupo Aire has chosen Orange Wholesale as a trusted partner. It was a nice portrait, so I will describe it later. Now, I have the challenge to bring the gap between these insights and our solutions. And later, my colleague Elise will also discuss the exciting innovations at Orange Wholesale that are shaping the future of global connectivity. Let's take a moment to analyze the roaming market in 2024. So yes, it's true, there are challenges, huge challenges, but there are also unprecedented opportunities. You mentioned, Nitin. As 5G becomes the new standard, a deep transformation is taking place with the deployment of these new technologies, such as 5G, VoLTE, but also low power wide area networks, and the sunset of legacy networks. And it's true, it could create a technological gap between operators adopting them quickly and those who need the right expertise, people, and knowledge to do so. There are also new eSIM players you have mentioned, reinventing business models, delivering, I admit, an improving customer experience. You may have traveled recently, and this is incredible, the experience they provide, and they are enabling new opportunities. It puts some pressure on wholesale margin, already affected by tighter regulation and increased fraud. Therefore, rethinking business models, being eSIM ready, and avoiding fraud are key. You know, operators are being pushed to deliver not just connectivity, but an outstanding roaming experience that meets the high expectations of today's consumers and enterprise. For instance, we are witnessing more and more demands for low latency roaming, especially for IoT traffic, service reliability, and for security as well. And we are seeing the rise of mobile private networks. What they need in terms of roaming is seamless coverage across various private and public networks. So according to us, this is a wholesale topic, leveraging new opportunities. With these challenges in mind, let's explore how our roaming sponsor is positioned to support operators like Grupo Aire and several tens of customers worldwide. So this is a solution dedicated to MNOs, smaller MNOs, but not only smaller MNOs. You mentioned Nitin, and full MVNOs. We need to provide their subscribers with global connectivity during their stay abroad. And it can be travelers or IoT, such as connected cars. As you all know, traditional bilateral agreements could take years to implement. We spend several tens of years here at Orange to implement these bilateral agreements. So with roaming sponsor solution, you gain time to provide your subscribers the best roaming quality at a lower cost. By relying on best-in-class Orange roaming agreements, customers benefit from an unparalleled coverage with good rates. Today, I'm connected from Paris, which is one of the most visited city in the world, and it helps us to have competing roaming deals with many operators. So concretely, we connect you to the platform. We are investing in it. Thus, you avoid the complexity of getting bilaterals up to date with new services. As Zigor mentioned, we have more than 100 networks open with 5G NSA, where you can already use our data breakout to maximize speed. For instance, we had a customer using it in Qatar during last football World Cup. And finally, our services are comprehensive, including monitoring, analytics, and round-the-clock customer support. We are also eSIM compatible, of course, and we can address the rising demand of mobile private networks operators. Let me add that our leadership has been recognized on multiple fronts. We've been named champion vendor by Kaleido Intelligence for 3 consecutive years. And we have recently been honored at World Communication Awards as Best Wholesale Operator. And we are quite proud of it. But that's not all. We offer a suite of additional roaming services. Elise will comment you now.
Thank you, Jérémy. As highlighted before, the Kaleido research showed that more than 1 MVNO player out of 2 think that the one-stop shop for roaming is important. Thus, it's easier to get everything they need from one door, no doubt about compatibility, better integration, faster time to market, and one team of experts in front of you. As you can see in this slide, the roaming sponsor solution is part of a wide range of roaming services which can be complementary to each other. For instance, IPX and signaling solutions are necessary for using roaming sponsor. And regarding the roaming coverage, roaming sponsor and open roaming hub have a worldwide reach. They target MNO, MVNO, and as we mentioned before, even private networks for roaming purposes between private and public networks with international needs. And something else important to point out here is the increasing necessity to use anti-fraud solution. Indeed, some analysts explain that operators will lose several billion, almost 10 billion USD to roaming fraud within 4 years. So in our portfolio, we have solutions for protecting voice, signaling, and messaging traffic, for instance. So my conclusion is that using Orange services means also benefiting from the Orange expertise as international carrier, professional services if necessary, and also innovative solutions like our big data analytics services that I'm going to explain in the next slide. Yeah. So as Jérémy mentioned previously, roaming business is experiencing a transformation. That's why operators need to have access to the relevant data to leverage opportunities. And Orange Wholesale brings its customer a dynamic answer by proposing roaming big data services, which is a powerful tool developed by using the design thinking methodology with our customers. And this tool is a 360-degree overview on outbound and inbound roaming based on signaling and billing records in order to implement a successful roaming business strategy and, of course, to optimize revenues. It includes business opportunities like detecting silent roamers or permanent roamers. For instance, Orange Ivory Coast has increased roaming revenues from silent roamer by 150% thanks to big data. Our customers, by better understanding roamers' behaviors, will better negotiate their wholesale agreement, and will adapt their existing retail plans to increase their customers' roaming data usage. We are also planning to integrate AI in our tools in order to detect fraudulent traffic, for instance, or network misconfigurations, and as well as faulty traffic. So, well, Orange is an active player in the telecommunication industry and is strongly involved in the definition of future 5G standards by working closely with the GSMA organization. First of all, so regarding the 5G SA signaling offer, we have a lab ready with different partners connected on it. And you are all, of course, welcome to connect to our platform to test all the possible scenarios like hosted SEP, service hub, outsourced SEP, and roaming hub. And by the way, about roaming hub, it will help also to facilitate routes opening, and of course, it will be compatible with BCE. Besides, so we can mention our local breakout solution, which is a cloud-based solution. This platform will be installed locally, close to a customer in a SDN POP in each region. And we will have a progressive deployment of such POP worldwide to aim to have the same reach than the IPX connectivity. And we're almost everywhere. And thanks to this solution, so GTPU and GTPC will be broken out using local POPs, and we will manage all data traffic. So for this solution today, we are focusing on IoT traffic, but we are thinking to offer this service for other use cases where low latency is critical, and we are planning to have a trial in H1 2024 to test this solution. And not to forget to mention the core network as a service. So this solution will enable MVNO, small MVNO, and mobile private networks to switch fast to 5G SA by using a core network based in the cloud. So this offer brings reactivity and performance with a fast deployment and competitive rates to access such equipment. And finally, something which is not mentioned in this slide, but which may be interesting for some people in the audience. So we have an offer for MVNO who want to become a 5G SA MNO in France for addressing travelers or use case for IoT. So as you can see, with all these offers, our aim clearly is to make 5G SA a success. And I will let the floor to Nitin. I think that's it for Orange.
Cool. Thank you, Elise. Very useful, guys. Very useful indeed. I mean, it's very interesting for our audience to see the roadmap for you guys, and it's aligning quite well with the way the industry is evolving or headed from my knowledge, I guess. It's interesting to see how the migration or how operators are approaching 5G standalone, migrating from 4G to 5G non-standalone to standalone, or in some cases, 4G directly to 5G standalone. So thank you so much, Elise and Jérémy, for that. Without wasting any further time, let's move on to the panel discussion. I mean, ideally, we would like to spend some good amount of time to have an engaging debate or rather discussion on key topics. So I think we have put together 4 key themes for our discussion today, guys. And let me remind you guys during our panel session, please do feel free to ask us any questions that may arise during our panel session. Use the chat box. Once again, use the chat box function to feed in your questions, and we shall strive to answer them towards the end of the session. So going back to the key themes I mentioned, so our focus today is going to be on how roaming solutions or sponsored roaming solutions are not just being used by MVNOs, but also by those new actors that we just discussed, be it travel leasing providers or private network companies. another key topic. It's an interesting topic and an exciting topic that is being widely discussed nowadays: sustainability. The need for strict net zero carbon commitments, and how do we build and develop roaming offerings to meet these commitments. Third, private networks. From a roaming perspective, how do they fit in? And finally, the hot topic, 5G standalone roaming. Elise just touched upon it. Where are we with this? And as an industry, are we ready? So, but before we dive into all of that, guys, I would like to invite you guys to come off mute. And I've got a first question for all of you. We'll start with you, Jérémy, on why it is important to optimize your roaming business strategy through these roaming solutions. Let's start with you, Jérémy.
Well, as we mentioned, travel is back and IoT traffic is expected to grow while the market embraces important transformation, I would say. So it's important to define and to achieve a strategy to capture the maximum of business value, relying on existing assets to gain time and money, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's not just about building your roaming strategy. It's all about implementing them in the right way to take advantage of new revenue opportunities. Zigor, from your perspective, let me bring you in. How do you build your roaming strategies? How do you go on as a group, as an operator, as an MVNO? How do you build your roaming strategies?
Yeah. As full MVNO, we have two kind of customers. We have the retail customers that normally they don't travel, so it's not really normal. But for us, the most important is the B2B market, because this kind of customer is really focused on they travel a lot. They need a really good service, because you have the CEOs or the president of companies that are traveling. So if you fail, you lost the customer. No, so it's for us is really important, and we have to give them a really good service, like we are offering in Spain. No, so for us the B2B market, like and they need like features like 5G or another ones that they make a really good experience in roaming, no, and they seamlessly they need to connect to the international carriers or to the international operators seamlessly, because if you have issues to connect, or when you travel to this country, if you have issues, it's not a good experience. So we are really focused on the good experience.
Yeah, and I think one thing that for sure that you can address or leverage is any advancements in technology. Be it automation, be it quality is an important topic that's widely discussed these days. Elise, let me bring you in. How do you optimize or how do you build your roaming strategy using these advancements in technology?
Operators, I think today need to consider the level of cost they have while deploying new services. It may be useful, I think, to focus on working on retail offers and end users experience by outsourcing the management, for instance, of some services like the negotiation of IoT or the deployment of core network like 5G. I mentioned previously the solution 5G CNAS, for instance, could help operators to focus on something else, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. We are getting questions in now, guys. So again, I'm going to ask you guys to continue sending us your questions. Let's touch upon travelism. It's one of my favorite topics these days. From our research, it's emerging as a game changer in the travel industry. We're seeing different kinds of partnerships emerging. It's not just mobile operators now coming in. You have brands, you have multiple distribution channels that's coming in, offering enhanced connectivity experiences to your travelers. Traditional roaming, it's still important, right? In Europe and North American markets, where roam like at home is packages and bundles are available. But a number of Asian markets and some European markets, we're witnessing a robust or an increasing uptake of travel eSIMs, those kind of alternatives. From your experience, guys, how do you see this changing the roaming landscape for travelers? Do you actually see them play an important role globally? And Elise, I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that travelers today are looking for a complete roaming coverage. They're also looking for quality of service. And of course, I guess something really important, low rates. That's why with the rise of smartphones compatible with eSIM, or even now we have smartphone eSIM only, we will see a growing demand from end users. And eSIM distributors offer alternative solutions for roaming abroad when operators do not offer attractive roaming plans. Besides the eSIM smooth the roaming experience, that it's become more and more easy to download a local plan from an app from your smartphone when you're abroad.
Yeah. And Zigor, we in our conversations with some of the other MVNOs, we see a lot of partnerships emerging between MVNOs and these travel eSIM providers. At times, we see them becoming travel eSIM provider themselves. So how do you see this? Do you see any interesting synergies for your company?
Yeah, we are now working on some, because you know that you have like aggregators, no, around the world. Like there are some companies, non-companies, that they are aggregating different services with different sponsor roamers and so on. So we are now working in Spain to give them good quality services and roaming services in Spain. But it's really interesting for travelers, because we see that they are working a lot to make different agreements in different countries. But I think that the thing here is that for us is the most important thing is to have a good agreement with a sponsor roaming service like Orange. We are not thinking about making our own agreements in different countries, so we can't offer something different to that kind of companies.
Yeah.
Only in Spain, no. So it's the thing for us.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I mean, sustainability. Let's come to that. It's a key topic. It's a key industry topic these days, and I'm personally aware of Orange Group's strict net zero carbon commitments. You read about all the other stakeholders in the industry talking about sustainability a lot more these days. I just want to have a discussion on how to innovate, how to develop your roaming offerings in order to ensure sustainability and also to meet these environmental goals. Jérémy, let's start with you.
Yes, thanks for asking these fundamental questions, Nitin. And that's true that at Orange, we will be net zero carbon in 2040. It is a commitment we have taken 10 years before the GSMA guidelines. And that's a real ambition. I want also to say to the audience that at wholesale level, when a player is working with us, we are sharing infrastructure and IT or networks, meaning that we share the carbon emissions, and it helps to reduce the global carbon emissions. So it's a good thing, but that's not all. We measure the carbon footprint for our French MVNOs.
Yeah.
And we are developing these measurements for also international partners. And we are adopting at Orange Wholesale eco-design approach. While we are designing new offers, we apply these eco-design principles. We also assess more and more the carbon costs of our suppliers, of our own suppliers, and we know that we are suppliers for our customers. So we thanks to that, we are going to be in line with our commitments for 2040. And let me add that our teams are trained to grow their CSR knowledge, because it can be a new topic for some of us also.
And in some cases a bit boring as well. But Jérémy, just to follow up on that, what are your recommendations? Or we have a good audience listening to you right now. What are your recommendations, or rather, what strategies can operators or MVNOs adopt to minimize the environmental impact of roaming services?
I think they need to consider the environmental impact of their offers, of their solutions, from the stage one of their design. They need to measure their own carbon footprint, not only to comply with regulations or and their CSR ambitions, but clearly to reduce it. As I mentioned, by sharing infrastructures and networks, we will be able to minimize our global carbon emissions. So this is an ecosystem topic. And let me add that CSR strategy is also about digital inclusions and trust. We have ambitious goals in that field as well.
Yeah. Great. I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in, and I can see, Zigor, you're addressing a lot of these questions
I'm trying
already.
to reply.
Hey, great. Keep going. Great stuff. Let me, I mentioned private networks a couple of times, guys. Is there actually a demand from an operator or a carrier perspective, especially with regards to roaming requirements? Is there a need for collaboration with private network providers? And how do you see this partnership with private network operators impact the future of international connectivity going forwards? Elise, maybe I'll come to you first.
Yeah, okay. So the private networks actually are like MVNOs. They have a limited access to roaming. So we will find two kinds of private networks. First, those using the MNO offers, and those using their own MCC-MNC. For instance, you may have a police network that can have their own MCC-MNC, and when they have their own MCC-MNC, to get roaming abroad, they may need a roaming sponsor solution or roaming hub solution. That's where we could jump in.
Yeah. Okay. So, definitely a topic that we need to be discussing a lot more. But I'm just looking at the time here, but I would really love to touch my favorite topic, 5G standalone roaming. Where are we really with 5G standalone roaming? I mean, each year we conduct a survey, we conduct market research, we get optimistic feedback from a small number of operators, but some of them, a majority of them rather, remain pessimistic. So we were seeing where we are in terms of the activities that's happening with the GSMA and the working groups. So bringing all that together, guys, let's consider the market readiness. Let's consider the expected challenges. Let's consider where we are right now. Elise, I'll come back to you again. Where do you see 5G standalone roaming market?
Yeah, it's true that the market is developing slowly. Therefore, operators are more in a testing phase now for 5G SA roaming rather than deploying roaming agreement at the moment anywhere. Operators and DCH are also waiting for the new version of BC standard and so on. So it takes time. Yeah. But at Orange Wholesale, we are preparing all the use cases possible to support the 5G SA signaling. As explained previously in the presentation, we are able to test any scenario: hosted SEP, outsourced SEP, service hub, and also we work on the roaming hub offer to speed up the deployment of 5G SA roaming agreement when ready.
And I'm not asking you to give away your secrets, guys, but Jérémy, what are your thoughts on the future outlook for 5G standalone? When can we expect the first set of 5G standalone launches?
2024 is a testing year. We will see the rise of roaming traffic, of a 5G SA roaming traffic in 2025, I guess. We should see the first 5G SA roaming agreements we could resell in the US, in Asia, and later on in Europe.
Okay. That's great. And Zigor, I would like to get your thoughts on the same as well. I'm sure you mentioned 5G roaming already, and I'm sure you see it playing a crucial role in your company's future opportunities. How do you see it playing out for air networks going forward?
Yeah, as I said, for us, it's important for those B2B customers, because in Spain you have this service, and the people wants to have the same service in worldwide. So yeah, for us, it's important to have for those B2B market services.
Yeah, and the other topic is the use cases that 5G standalone roaming will present to the roaming community. Um, every time we do a survey, it's not just the consumer sector, but across the industrial, manufacturing, automotive, all those use cases that are being realized. Elise, a quick question for you: is that really the case? How close are we in identifying and implementing these use cases from a roaming context?
Yeah, so regarding the use of 5G SA, so I'm thinking about the famous triangle, first with 5G helping to support a significant number of IoT device to work all at the same place, like smart cities, factories, smart agriculture. I'm also thinking about high peak data rate and high speed connectivity in very dense urban scenario. I'm thinking also about the use case where you need the lowest latency possible and the highest reliability needed. So all these new use case actually, when the end users will use them and we get used to that, they will need it in a roaming situation because end users will want to keep their habits abroad for gaming, for augmented reality, connected cars. And I think that the operators will have no choice but jumping on the 5G bandwagon at some point. Beside another use case, we think that 5G SA also will allow private networks and satellite networks to interoperate.
And I think from our audience perspective, I'm sure there are a few of our audience members who are trying to figure out what prep that needs to be done from, let's say, not just from an MNO perspective, but mostly from an MVNO perspective to ensure 5G roaming readiness. Jérémy, Zigor, I think you guys will be working on this very soon, I guess. So, Jérémy, why don't you give us some input into the kind of prep that needs to be done right now from an MVNO perspective?
For the MVNOs and a smaller MNO in the audience, you will need to get a 5G core network. This is the clue. I recommend strongly to avoid the situation we know for VoLTE and the lack of deployment of IMS for some of them. So it is worth to think about this new equipment from now and about solutions such as the 5G core network as a service to speed up this deployment.
Yeah. And Zigor, do you agree? Do you agree with Jérémy?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you need the 5G. Yeah, and if you have the mobile core, we are evolving this mobile core to 5G, so it's mandatory for us. Yeah.
Yeah, you're working on that. Great. Great stuff, guys. It took slightly longer than planned, but we're getting great questions coming in through the chat. I don't have time to go through all of it, but I'm sure Zigor has answered a lot of them already online. But Natalia,
Tried. Because the questions were really interesting questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like another webinar to explain that question. So.
I'll take a quick one from Natalia actually, and maybe Jérémy, you could answer this. It's a question on the transparency. How transparent are you towards your roaming partners? Do you disclose that part of traffic coming outside of your own network? I mean, such solutions are easier to run for provider, not having own traffic behind. How do you deal with it?
That's a good question, and thank you, Zigor, for having letting me this one. That's an important topic we are discussing with our roaming partners about that. What I can share is that, for instance, for IoT traffic, we are relying on 901 IMSI's 901 resources, and by design, it's transparent when you are roaming on the visited networks using our 901. This is transparent. This means you are on IoT traffic, and this is why it was built. So yes, transparency is key.